What's up, everybody? It's Jason Zombie Collector, and I am here to thrill and amaze you this after. I'm sorry, it's not this afternoon. It's this evening. I have had a long day, a wonderful week with a long day. So I hadn't gone live in a week, and thought I'd go live and just kind of see how things are going, see how the community's doing without me being around. I know it's probably been very difficult for most of you all to get through this week, knowing that I wasn't here to to talk and to hold your hands and to prop you up and to encourage you in this difficult time we find ourselves in. But I am here today to make everything right. So hey, what up, Henry? Henry. What about the Stevening? The sevening. Like convening. The convening. Ooh, that's the conjuring. We can go a lot of places with this. So thought I'd go live for a little bit. It's Thursday night. Thirsty Thursday. Maybe I should get me a drink before I get going because it's gonna be all kinds of hot takes tonight. There'll be hot takes, hot cakes. Depending on where you live, you might say pancakes, might say hot cakes. In my neck of the hood, growing up, there was a kid who called them panty cakes. Shout out to Joe. So, but yeah, so I still kind of wound up from the trip, trying to, what's the word? Try to decompress a little bit. Just let the day wash over you. Just wash over you. I'm supposed to be going back to work tomorrow, and I have every intention of going to work tomorrow, which means I just come right here where you see me and work. It just depends on how I feel. But we'll see. We will see. But I probably will. I don't want to use too many days. So I'll probably will be at work tomorrow. So, but yeah, so kind of want to talk a little bit about the trip and just kind of talk about my experience, the good and the bad, the kind of crazy. And just there was some stuff that went on in the hobby I've noticed. I mean, because I wasn't like ever completely away. But the good news is I really wasn't on my phone a whole lot. I mean, we were busy from the time we got up in the morning until the time we got home in the mid to late afternoon. And I didn't have a lot of downtime. The downtime I did have was usually when Luke and his buddy would go to the pool and swim, which I hung out and did some as well. But most of the time they were self-sufficient. They're 12, so I mean they don't really need me and his mom there. It was mostly just us hanging out, watching them goof off. So I had some downtime to look at some videos, watch some videos, and see what's going on in the world of YouTube and all the new and exciting things happening in our little section of the world, a little section of the tube. Oh, you ate 1990s gum today, Henry? Congratulations! I'm glad you're still with us. You're a more brave individual than I am, to be honest with you. I used to be that guy back in the day. Do you all remember? I don't know if it was a thing, if it's a thing anymore, but if you're anywhere like around my age, there was a thing in the 80s, and I guess probably the 90s too, that you'd go to a baseball game, like a little league game in your town, city, whatever, and you would ask them to make you a suicide. And a suicide was like every drink in the fountain drink, all the fountain drinks, and they would just do like Sprite and Coke and Dr. Pepper and Mountain Dew and Mellow Yellow or whatever, and they just go down and they would make that for you, and that would be the suicide you would drink. And so I remember doing that when I was a kid, thinking that was so cool. I remember thinking it was very delicious. and it quenched your thirst. And I'm like, there is no way I would do that now. Like I was like, that just sounds so disgusting. Like eating 1990 baseball gum, just or chewing it or whatever. They're like, no way. Sounds like a good idea for nostalgia or for fun, but actually, in reality, you're like, no, that's a hard pass. James couldn't do it. I bet he couldn't. I bet you could, Henry. Yeah, it was so falsy. Yeah, you know the drill, homie. Yeah, man, it was crazy. You might they called it the graveyard on the West Coast. That's cool over the northwest area of the country. But yeah, here in Indiana, at least to my knowledge, we call it we want a suicide. I remember almost everybody like, I like to have a suicide with no Diet Coke, because back then Diet Coke was really the only diet that was like in fountain drink form mostly. So we'd always get one, and all the drinks except except the Diet Coke. But now I would not even want to do that. I'd be like, no way. What up, Don? What up, Joe? No, nobody recognized me, Joe. It was a real shame, man. Well, I wasn't really in any kind of sporting area. So I wasn't around any card shows, card shops. I was hoping I would, but I'm still waiting for my patch. Hashtag YouTube Hall of Fame. I'm still waiting for my patch. So who knows? Who knows? I was gonna wear my patch on my one eye, like lefty, like Lisa Left Eye Lopez. So yeah, that's right. Don is here, but I still don't have my patch. I don't think people recognize me without the patch. I think the patch is what completes me as a YouTube, personality, person, schmuck, dingleberry, whatever, whatever. So now that I have a few people here, I'll talk, and I'll try not to repeat myself too much. Try is the operative word there. So I got to tell you all about the journey, what that was, Atlanta, Georgia. I was kind of being a little bit vague about what I was doing with a lot of people, like publicly, because I didn't want to be gone in my time frame, and then like I'm just gone, and then Bob Lewis shows up at my house and tries to take all my 1993 SP sealed boxes of Upper Deck, try to get them in that, try to get that Derek Jeter. So I had to be kind of a little bit vague about some of the details. And I will tell people, I'm going to kind of just talk and shoot from the hip about my experience this past week. I'll try to keep a look at the notes. Try to look at the comments. So if you're asking me a question or something, please just, if I don't respond, kind of, if you don't mind, ask again, because I'm not purposely ignoring it. But once I get going, I kind of just want to just talk and not have a lot of downtime where I'm looking off and trying to read the comments. But I want to share this, because I think some people will find it amusing. And like I said, I just want to kind of throw it out there for future reference. If anybody ever wants to watch the video or to have a good memory about what had happened. So Saturday, I went to go get the rental car. We got a rental car in Anderson, Indiana, down the street from where I live. Carl Erskine is from. Brooklyn Dodger legend. So it says on the website that is a truck rental. I called the customer service, and they assured me that it was a car rental place as well. And I knew this area pretty well, and I was like, I don't ever remember a budget car rental place ever being there. But I called them multiple times to confirm, and they said, oh yeah, there's car rentals there too. I'm like, okay. Now I don't know about you, this is the first time this ever happened to me, but when you go to a rental car place, it's usually like in its own, like it's in like a strip mall. It might have its own building, but it's like, a kind of like a nice, in my experience, kept up property that is, like I said, it's its own building, or it's like in a strip mall that's well maintained. So I just worked from that assumption. And so I'm like, I don't remember a budget, because I never use budget either. I almost always use enterprise, which I will be doing moving forward as well, because this was an absolute dumpster fire of an experience, and I'll get into it. It was absolutely god awful. I mean, if you could think of like a dumpster fire with a train crash, with a helicopter explosion, wrapped up with, I don't even know, a Zeppelin going down, that's what this experience was like, except it was worse than that. So I was reassured this is a car rental place on the week prior. So I go there on Saturday morning. First thing in the morning, I get my 8 o'clock check-in time to go get this car. Because in the past, it's like usually there's already people there waiting to get their car. So I was there like 7:50 to make sure I get the car. Even though we weren't leaving until Sunday, I wanted to make sure I had the car with no hang-ups. So I go there, and this budget rental car place is actually attached to some like Hill Jack automotive shop that I guess also a substitute or what's the word Twilights or what's not Twilight but what's the word I'm looking for shoot but it also works as a budget rental car place and truck rental place. Yeah, we're gonna definitely be boycotting budget from here on out, dude. Hey, what up, Will? Yeah, man, we'll eventually get around to it. Today's probably gonna be like a solo night, man. No offense. If I get done with everything I'm talking about, we'll pop somebody back. We can pop some people on. So it was an automotive shop who happens to also do car rental apparently. And so I go there, and the guy is Limelight. No, it's not Limelight. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So I go there, and I'm there at 8 o'clock, like I said, ready to go. It's not open. The guy's not. No one's there. I'm standing out in the cold, waiting for them to open up. So the guy decides to stroll in at like 8:05. All right, no big deal. I'm the first one there. No one else is there, so I'm already like, first of all, I'm in the middle of this automotive body shop who happens to also do the whole thing with the car. So I'm sitting out there waiting. The guy shows up, lets me in. We exchange formalities and all that stuff, and and he walks me out. There's like only two like really SUVs. So I get this Mitsubishi, I believe it's called an Outlander. So I've never driven the car before. From walking out to it, it looked fine. So I get up close to the car, and it looks like it went mudding. Like somebody took it mudding. Like sides of the car is filthy. The door handles are filthy. It is literally it's like not caked in mud, but there's like mud, dirt up and down the sides of this car. There's paint chips missing in the car. And, he's walking around like taking some notes. He goes, oh, I just want to make sure I make some notes about the car and what it looks like and all that so it doesn't go against you. And I'm like, you better believe it doesn't go against me. I didn't take this car out mudding the night before with paint chips missing from the bumper and the sides and all that. So he's going around and checking the car, and he's like, all right, we got, I'm like, all right, I guess it's fine, whatever. So I go in, we finish up the paperwork. He hands me the key. I go out to the car, I get in the car. It smells like that dude or somebody spent the entire night before smoking a bowl of marijuana in the car. Like it literally reeks of pot. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to be taking my 12-year-old son and his buddy and his mom in this car for 8-hour drive in the car that smells like Cheech and Chong was literally up in smoke in this car. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this real life? I mean, it was reeking. It smelled like a 16-year-old kid's basement bedroom. It was awful. I mean, and I've been around it obviously off and on my entire life, so I know what it smells like. I have one of my best buds. That's his thing. I obviously been around it. It's not my thing. I do not like it. I don't support it. I don't agree with it. I don't care what people do with their lives. It's my business. I just don't want to be around it. I definitely don't want my kid to be around it, and I don't want to be sitting in a car for 8 hours driving in it. So I get the car home, and I look around the car, and I'm like, there's probably other issues with this car. I look at the side of the car, and there was 2 dents in the side of the car that the guy didn't even notice or didn't pay attention because he was probably high and didn't know. He's probably the one who was smoking the weed in the car the previous night and bumped it in against something. So I bumped into him. And I mean, because like the guy was the whole time was just like, hey, how you doing, man? How you doing? Everything okay? Oh, yeah, man, I'm doing great. He's just like, he's acting like he's trying to be alert and aware. and make sure, I don't think anything suspicious going on and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I call customer service and I get somebody on the phone and I tell them what I just told you all. And I want to talk to a manager because I'm not getting charged for dents in the car because that's definitely going to be something they would count against me, which I would understand. And I'm also going to tell them the car smells like it just came off the back lot of a Cheech and Chong movie. So I was, of course, upset. I was saying I was embarrassed because I was embarrassed. I got to take this car, my 12-year-old son and his buddy. They've been best friends since they were like 5 years old. I'm friends with that boy's parents. My ex-wife, who and I have a great relationship with, and I got to drive them down there, and I was like, that's embarrassing. But I'm now having to take a whole 4 people down to Georgia in this, Potmobile. So the woman I talked to was a manager. She tried to make things right. She, credited me back, a sum of money that was acceptable. And I was like, fine, whatever. I was like, I'll take it. I'm not trying to get anything for free, but I'm also, I don't want to get charged for anything. And I also think this is ridiculous that now I'm dealing with it. So I go and I had some extra like car scent little indicators I put in there. I rolled the windows down almost the entire day and a half, like all day Saturday into Sunday morning before we left. We'll put the little car scentsy things in there, try to make it better. It seemed to be a little bit better. And probably I just got used to it because I've been around it for so long. The kids didn't really make a big mention about anything. His mom seemed to be fine. So I guess mission accomplished. All right. So we drive. So we started on Sunday morning. We're heading down to Atlanta from Indianapolis, Indiana area. We get to be about an hour out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I had driven that entire way. We stopped at we stopped like 20, 30 minutes before we stopped at a gas station. I completely filled up the car. And we were going to make our final trek down. So Luca's mom switches out with me. She drives the rest of the way because it's an 8-hour drive basically. So I drive like 4.5 hours, and she's going to finish up the last 4. She gets in the car. She drives like maybe 30 minutes. All of a sudden, the indicator light on the face of the Mitsubishi Outlander just goes from like green to red and starts saying it's overheating. Now the car on the highway, obviously on a Sunday afternoon, is overheating, and you're starting to smell this burning sensation filling the car. So now it no longer smells like pot. Now it smells like burning metal and rubber and everything else. And of course she's freaking out because now, we're on the highway. We're going like 80, 70 something miles an hour. The car's now smelling of burnt material. The indicator lights are going crazy. It's saying it's like overheating. We, thank God, are able to get on an exit. This happened to be right where this started happening. We got off the exit, got into this gas station, like seriously, BFE, Tennessee somewhere. So we roll into literally next to a dumpster. I'm not even kidding you. Our car like rolls right into next to a dumpster, and we park the car. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. She sure did. At the end of this conversation, I feel like I needed a bag. I kid you not. So we roll into this like, something from Hazard County, from Dukes of Hazzard's, gas station. There were like these big old heavy women on motorcycles with like Native American garb on their motorcycles and long hair with big ponytails sticking out the backs of their helmets. And it was just like, okay, so that's what I'm dealing with, right? So we get there. I'm on the phone now with Budget, and I'm like, hey, the car's overheating. The car's like about ready to catch fire. It feels like. Obviously, we need some help. So I got Bob on the phone, not Bob Lewis, but another Bob. And Bob reassures me it's all going to take care of, which is what you want to hear when you have a situation that should never happen in the first place because I'm already paying a lot of money to make sure these kind of things do not happen. So then I talked to Bob on the phone, and Bob reassures me that he's sending out a record to come and get the car, and somebody else would be coming as well to do a ride share or give us another car or whatever they do at Budget. This was my first time ever having this experience. So I was just like, whatever you say, Bob, you're the professional. I leave it to you. So shockingly, within about 35, 45 minutes, the record shows up, which is pretty fast. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, Bob, way to go, Bob. So the record guy shows up. His name's Garcia. Him and I are talking, and we start talking, and he was like, and I'm telling him what's going on. And he's like, dude, I'm just going to be straight with you. This has happened before, and I know the situations. What they do is they're going to send us out here to get the car, and then there ain't going to be nobody coming to get you. And I'm like, no, that doesn't happen. No. Really? That's what happens? And he was like, unfortunately, that's what I've seen happen. And, you know, he's like, I can't say it happens every time, but I've seen it happen. And I'm like, and he was like, you know, I used to be a police officer, and I can't just leave people high and dry. I got to tell them the truth. He goes, I could just grab your car. You would have to taken all your stuff out of the car, and then I would have got the car, and I would have taken the car. You're just here, stranded. And I'm like, is that a real thing? I'm like, surely not, Garcia. And he's like, it's happened before. I should have got the numbers, Jack. You know that, dude. I mean, if I wasn't with my old lady back in the day, I would have been like, what up, baby? It's when they have one of those, like, what do you call those, like those little pooches, like little, like, butt stomachs or whatever. They're so fat, like, their fat's like coming out. They're like chaps. Their fat butt, like it's like an inverted butt is coming out. Their chaps is what these like ladies look like. I'm not even kidding you. I'm not even joking. Like, that's 100% not joking. Like these women are so fat, their little butt stomachs sticking out of their like little chaps, and they're like out there with their like little hogs driving around. Muffin tops. There we go. Yeah, like little muffin tops sticking out. So anyways, that's what I'm dealing with. That's what part of Tennessee I'm in, where you got these big old women with their little muffin tops hanging down in their pants and their little jeans sticking out. So, but yeah, yeah, dude, I'm a heavy set dude myself. I'm a chubby guy. I would be talking about the same thing if it was a dude, if it was me. Like, I'm not saying like ha 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 ha. I'm saying like that's just what it is. If I was wearing that kind of outfit, I would expect people to give me a hard time and make fun of me. Like, so it's not like I'm calling them out. That's real life. So Garcia tells me that, and I'm like, now I'm in panic mode because we were there now for an hour. So I call and I talk to Al. Now Al tells me essentially it's not their fault. It's not their problem. And I'm SOL. And I am not even kidding you. That is exactly what Al said from Budget, because they had no answer for what Garcia told me because no one was coming. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? You are paying hundreds of dollars for a service that they are not going to honor. I am not even joking with you guys. So I talked to Al, who was a worthless POS, and he had the audacity and the nerve to say, it's not our fault, not our problem. So I'm like, so you're saying it's my fault and my problem that your car almost exploded on the highway, went to crazy, like overheating, smelling and smoking, but somehow that's my problem and you can't find anybody to come and get us? I'm like, is this real life, sir? I mean, he was literally worthless. So I was like, well, you are a worthless piece of garbage. I hope I never find you in public because we would definitely have words. I will talk to your manager. So then the manager gets on there, essentially says the same things, but a lot more nice about it. But essentially says, so they're like, it's our policy that we don't send anybody until we make sure we procure the vehicle. And I'm like, so you want to make sure you get your vehicle back, but you don't care what happens to your customers that are stranded in the middle of nowhere. We're talking about two 12-year-old boys and two other me and my ex out in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. You don't care what happens to us. You don't make sure you get your car back, and then we're left to fend for ourselves. I mean, like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, I could not imagine a worse experience. Like, it is literally the worst customer service experience. And this keeps getting better, guys. Like, this is like the prelude. So then they were like, well, let's see what we can do, because I guess they thought I was going to accept the fact that we're just going to just sit around in nowhere, Tennessee for the rest of the trip. And then just maybe like Haley's Comet's going to pick us up. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking, but that was essentially what they were going for, was not our problem, and you're on your own. I'm not kidding you. I'm like, I should have, Donnie. I saw your sign for your town. I was like, oh, that's where Donnie lives. We drove right past where your town is. Oh, it's Budget Car Rental. That's the name of it. I will say Budget all my life. So I get a hold of a manager, and they don't want to take responsibility. They keep pushing me off to to dispatch, because dispatch is now in control of the situation, but dispatch can't make a decision, so they send me back to the rental car area, but then they can't do anything, so they call me back to customer service. So as you see, here's a can, and they're just kicking it down the street, so no one takes responsibility. And so, I mean, I'm there. Now we're talking about going on 2 hours. So then, they actually said to me that what we're going to try to do for you is we're going to see if we can get a ride share out to you, which is what Bob was supposed to do. Well, they came back and said, because I guess apparently their policy is that they can't do anything if it's not essentially close to where one of their locations are. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this stuff has to have happened before. So they were like, we'll see if we can get a ride share out to you. Well, the answer was no one can do a ride share. Nobody local could do a ride share. So they're like, we're going to go ahead and reach out to Lyft and what's the other? Uber. Well, no one could come and get us in Lyft and Uber, because I guess they're going to fit the bill for that. So they literally said that ride share with Budget, which is who we're using, no one's coming from them. Lyft and Uber aren't going to be able to do anything. So they're like, our suggestion to you is you get a taxi and then head back to Nashville, and then they would more than likely pick up the tab on the taxi. I am not kidding you. I'm like, you want me to get a taxi? I got to now figure out, I'm doing this. I'm doing all the work. I mean, I should be having your salary. I should get paid for me doing all the work. So now my job is to get a taxi cab to come out in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and have them taxi us back to an hour the other direction that we're coming from to go to the Nashville airport. And then there would be a car there waiting for us, magically. They couldn't send somebody, but you can have me come there on my dime that you may reimburse me for, but there's no guarantee down the road. And I'm like I can't even believe it. Like, I'm like, is this a Twilight Zone? Like, literally, is Rod Sterling over there looking off in the distance, and I'm in a Twilight Zone episode, because that's what it felt like. So then Garcia, being the amazing man that he was or is, said that his wife or girlfriend, fiance, who helps run their wrecking company, because it's her dad's wrecking company, would, out of the kindness of her heart, two complete strangers would pick us all up, all 4 of us, put our stuff in the back of her trunk, and drive us to the airport. I am not even kidding you. So strangers from Shelbyville, Tennessee, decided to, hey, what up, Bronx boys? decided that they would do us a solid and take us back. Now they worked out something with their PO, some kind of PO number, like on the dispatch. I'm sure they got reimbursed for something. But the record company or whatever, this guy's girlfriend on a Sunday afternoon decides that she would, on the kindness of her heart, would take all of us back to Nashville so we can go get a new car. So I asked the guy, Budge, I'm like, so you want me to take these strangers' kindness, who I'm not paying, over the company I've been paying hundreds of dollars for? I go, a lot of money, let's say, was spent here. And he goes, if they're willing to do that, I would suggest doing that because there's no other options. I mean, I am not even kidding you, people. So the woman shows up, Tammy with an I. Tammy with an I shows up, takes us back to the airport, drives us almost an hour the other direction. We finally get a car. Finally, I gotta go through the airport. I gotta go. Of course, budget is not somewhere easy. I gotta go into the airport. I go up these escalators. Then I gotta go find the budget center location. I gotta stand in line, and then they give us the exact same car that I just got back from. I mean, not the same model and make and everything. Mitsubishi Outlander, white, everything, the exact same car. That's what they have waiting for me. I'm like, have like PTSD. So then I gotta go. She leaves my son, his buddy, and my ex, as she should, on the side of the airport road as I run in, grab the car, and then I have to go now drive around looking for them because I gotta navigate an airport I've never been to with a new car and try to find how to get there. Hey, what up, Bob? Try to find my family. So I finally find them, get in the car, we drive. I mean, guys, it was absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, like, it was not the same car, but it was the exact same make and model, same year, same color, same everything. And that's gonna play into this again, because I'm not even kidding you. It's gonna play into it again. Like, you all think, Jason, you've been going for 34 minutes and like 28 of it's been this story. It just keeps going, guys. So now things are better. So it starts at 1:30 on Sunday. We do not actually get on the road and head towards actually Atlanta until 6 p.m., guys. That's how long we are dealing with this nonsense. That's how long. 5 hours, almost 6 hours, something like that. It is literally unbelievable. Exactly. So we start heading through, finally backtracking, or now we're back on track after we backtracked. So we're now heading towards Atlanta. Of course, at 6 o'clock, we're getting hungry. So we stop. And then I want to tell you all some of the good stuff too, because I think the whole trip in itself, aside from the ridiculous car stuff, the trip itself was absolutely amazing. Loved every minute. We did so much cool stuff. But this is like, for people who don't believe in God, Jesus Christ, I gotta tell you this kind of story. It just like puts faith back into my heart when I'm like down and got kicked in the teeth by life and does all this other stuff. Because what happens next is so utterly cool. So we're like Southern Tennessee heading into Georgia. We're so hungry. We're so just distraught and just frustrated. I mean, like, I was at the point of almost crying, and I was trying to keep it together for my son's sake, and his poor friend would see his dad, my son, or his buddy's dad crying would probably be like awful. Because I was like so not crying because I was sad, but I was so angry. And like, I don't know if have you ever been around somebody who gets so angry that it's like you just like get emotional, you almost cry because you're so angry, because that's the only emotion that I guess takes part. That's kind of like, I was so angry because I couldn't be angry like outwardly. I was like almost to the point of tears. I was so angry. I was like literally like just fuming, like just anger. So we find this Mexican restaurant like on the southern Tennessee into Atlanta or into Georgia border. I can't remember the name of it. It was like called like Los Bravos or something like that. We get there. It's Sunday evening. We get in there. We sit down. The people there are amazing. The hostesses. Everybody's great. It was so easy. We just come right in. There was no hassle. Nobody was giving us any hassle about anything. We went straight to a table. We sat down. My son's buddy, he's a real finicky eater. He's a real picky eater. Unfortunately, none of us are that picky. So he was kind of being stretched in a lot of ways this week with trying lots of different foods and like being exposed to a lot of stuff that he wasn't exposed to before. And he was awesome. He was a big trooper. When he goes to Mexican restaurants, I don't think he really once ever goes to Mexican restaurants. But when he does, it's probably like chicken strips or whatever. So we sit down, all four of us order our food. I'm just trying to decompress. Luke and I are talking, he and his mom, his buddy's talking, we're all talking, trying to like be positive after such an incredibly horrible day. And we're about to pay. And the waiter comes over and he goes, don't worry about it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, don't worry about it. Somebody's paid your entire bill. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I mean, it had to be like, we're talking about a Mexican restaurant. Each person's plate's like between $8 and $12 roughly. So we're talking like a bill that's probably $40, $50 easily. All of us got drinks, like, everybody got a $2 drink or whatever. So someone paid for our meal. And I was like, thank you, God. It was like absolutely like could not happen at a better time. It was like restored my faith in people, like decent people are out there. And these people had no idea what we had just went through the previous 5-6 hours. They obviously had no idea. They were just good people who happened to be Christians who I probably saw us probably just like our life sucks right now. All of our joy and happiness has been sucked from us from Budget Carmen, or has sucked the excitement and joy from us. And I don't know why they picked us out of everybody in the restaurant because it wasn't packed, but it was a lot of people Sunday night. And of course the waiter wouldn't tell us who paid for a meal or whatever. And but it was just like such a God thing. Regardless if you believe in that stuff or not, I 100% believe. I'm a believer. I believe in Christ as my savior. But I was like completely caught off guard. That's never really happened to me before at that level. Like maybe somebody like one time bought me a coffee or something like a long time ago. And I'm grateful for that. I don't want to sound like ungrateful. But a $4 or $3 coffee is a lot different than a $50 bill for 4 people. Like that's a lot to ask, And so my ex-wife and I were just like, oh my gosh, like, are you sure? Like, we can just get up and leave, like we're good. He's like, yeah, we're good. Everybody they paid for it, they took care of it, you're good to go. And I was like, they wouldn't tell us who it was because that's not what it's about, So we go out, so we're just walking out, just looking around the restaurant, kind of just like, thank you, everybody. Like we're like, at the Miss America pageant, just kind of waving at the entire restaurant, thanking whoever, because we don't know, because we're just like so shell shocked. We're heading out to the car, and these 2 young people, they could not be more than like in their mid-20s, probably younger, came up and gave us like a little like a little tract from their church. They didn't say they paid for our food, but you can imagine. And they just wanted to do something nice. That's what it was essentially about. They just, here it is. It was a Baptist church in Tennessee. And it was awesome. They didn't try to like proselytize us, even if they did. I'm already a Christian. It would have been fine. We could talk. But, they weren't trying to take up our time. They weren't trying to they weren't trying to like convince us of anything. They weren't trying to like sell us anything. They just want to be like, hey, we want to do something nice. Here's a little tract from our church, a little bit of what we're about and why we did this. And I was just like, I was trying to keep it together. Like, okay, man. And I was like, thank you. It was just amazing. And they get in their truck and, we get in our budget rental car. I roll down the windows, we wave and say, thank you so much. And we go on our way. But that was like such a such a great exclamation point, and like with little hearts and little four-leaf clovers or whatever, compared to where we came from hours before. It was, completely what needed to happen. And I rarely have ever seen that kind of thing happen in my own personal life, but that will never not stay with me. So anyway, so that had happened, and then we finally get at 10 o'clock at night, literally 10 o'clock, we're rolling into Atlanta to our hotel, which we should have been there if based even on our stops, we should have been arriving around about 4 o'clock, 4:30. And so obviously like 6 hours later, it was a 15-hour day. Should have been 8. So there you go. We should have been there from doorstep to doorstep. It's like 8 hours and some odd minutes. We didn't get there till after 15 hours later. That was our day. We went to North Carolina in October in 12 hours one way. This was 15 going in 8 hours. So all that had happened. And we do lots of fun stuff while we're there. We're doing all kinds of, Atlanta activities and all this kind of stuff. It's great fun. We can talk about that, but just to kind of do this thread I want to share. So on Tuesday, the new car, the check engine light comes on, and a routine maintenance light pops on. I'm like, seriously? Seriously, is this, again, I know I've said this before, but it's like, is this seriously real life? So we haven't had the car no more than 2 days. So on Tuesday, the check engine light comes on along with the routine maintenance light. So I'm looking and trying to see, with my limited knowledge about these things, what's going on. So you know how they give you the little sticker on the top left-hand corner of your car that lets you know about oil change? So the oil change was supposed to be changed at 17,300 some odd miles. That's where it's supposed to have been changed. When I looked down at my speedometer, whatever, it was at 22,800 and whatever. So it was like 5,000 miles over the actual where it's supposed to be. And if you know anything about cars, which I don't know much, but I know this, that you might be able to get 5,000 miles out off of past where it's supposed to be, but you could be running into trouble because it's not really made, generally speaking, to go 5, 6, 7, 8,000 miles over the suggested, a lot of miles before these are a new oil change. So guess what I did? I called, because that's what a good person should do. So I tell this lady I finally get on the phone with everything I've told you all up to this point. And I said, I want to talk to this manager, because I'm not even talking to customer service anymore. It's not going to happen. She can't get me a manager. Supposedly all the managers are busy. So she takes all these notes from me. I explained to her everything, and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Because now I have a car that could apparently, be out of oil and just just run out of oil in the engine or whatever. And now what am I going to do with it? I don't want another situation where it overheats happens again, and I'm going to strand on the side of the road somewhere in Atlanta, God forbid, or anywhere else heading home. I'm going to have a manager call you back either tonight or within 24 to 48 hours. Just in case you're keeping track at home, that call never came. And then I was like, okay, so someone's going to call me and try to remedy the situation. I still got a car that is saying that it needs a routine maintenance check. And I'm no mechanic, but you don't want me opening it up and banging around inside of the vehicle. She's like, you could go to any budget place and they will just swap you out. I'm like, really? Yeah, is this just that simple? Now, remind you, on Sunday, that wasn't even an option. So I was like, let me get this straight. Whatever, Kathy. So you're telling me I can call tomorrow morning because it was late, no one's there, because I'm talking to them at like 7 o'clock at night or whatever. I can call them in the morning, any place close, and they will just swap me out with a new SUV. Yes, sir. Are you sure? Mm-hmm. All right. Sounds great. I like that. Kathy, I'll be sure to do that. 8 o'clock, Wednesday morning. Call them up on the phone. Hey, this is Jason. I was told by customer service to give you a call. I have a car that needs routine maintenance. I think it's an oil change issue. And they were like, "Oh, well, we don't have any cars." No help, no questions, not asking me anything about it. What up, Flo? Nothing. No kid. Gave zero cares, gave zero interest, no interest. Just all right. Hung up, basically hung up on me. We don't have any cars for you, sir. Okay, so you know what? I'll call another one that's a little further out. I'll call the one that was like 8 miles from where we're located. I'll call the one that's 10 miles. You know, not that big of a deal. So I call that one. This woman with even more of help. And I'm like, ma'am. So I tell her the situation, and her first reaction was, I'm sorry, I can't help you because you didn't get the car from here. Well, customer service said that I can go to any budget, and I was able to swap it out because apparently it's a national chain and all that. Well, we're an independent budget retail, and we don't, even though budget's in our name, we're not actually licensed through budget. I'm like, what? What kind of nonsense is this? So when I pushed her on it, she goes, "Well, did you get the car from us, sir?" No. Where did you get the car? Airport in Nashville. Oh, well, you're gonna have to take it back there. I'm like, did you hear what I said? I'm like, it's telling me that there's maintenance issues and that it needs to be serviced. So you're telling me you want me to drive it back to Nashville with those possible problems lingering? And she was like, basically like, I don't care, which is a typical budget response. So if you ever use budget, then you're an idiot. You're literally the stupidest person in the world because I'm telling you right now, they do not care about you at all. They care about your money, and that is the only thing they care about. So guess what I did? I continued to drive it Wednesday. I continued to drive it today, and we made it all the way back to Indiana. It is literally a miracle of God that we made it back here without the car exploding with us on the road, or worse. I don't even know. Somehow, some way, the car made it back to my home here in Indiana. I mean, I was waiting literally at any minute it would start overheating, smoking, fire. I mean, I was like thinking any moment it was going to happen. So that car, so just if you ever have a Mitsubishi Outlander, it can go almost 7,000 miles without an oil change, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't want to roll those dice in any situation. But if you want to give it a shot to see if it's true, go ahead and give it a whirl because that's what happened here. So I make it back. I mean, I got to drop it off tomorrow morning, so it could blow up in the driveway. Should I back out? Boom. So so I might have to give a what do you call it, a pen, an addendum or whatever, and I have to do an additional part. So then I didn't want to make any more, and I want my family to be stuck with me on the phone with these people anymore on Wednesday. Definitely not today in the car. So I'll wait till I got home. I get home. I'm like, now I'm going to take care of the problems I've been dealing with for this entire week. So take 20, 25 minutes to finally get a hold of a person. I got a hold of Jay, who's a supervisor, because I told the guy before, like, dude, I don't really want to talk to you. I want to talk to the supervisor. So I got a hold of Jay. Jay was exactly like the previous people when back on Sunday who offered zero help. Jay offered zero help. He didn't care. He was trying to. He didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to take any responsibility. He didn't want to make anything right. He just was wanted. He wanted to give me a voucher. He wanted to give me a voucher. He wanted me to use their company again on them in the hopes that somehow this would not happen again. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you even listening to what I have told you? What has happened? I'm sorry, sir. That's all we can do. And I'm like, well, I talked to a supervisor a week ago, and she was able to financially credit my account because of the ridiculousness of what was going on. And so, and now you're unable to do so. That's weird. That's really weird. So she was able. Caitlin was able to do it, but not you. That's interesting. Okay. So he kept on trying to tell me that he was able to do this supposed voucher, but he wasn't able to like make it right. I'm like, so you're saying the policy is that we are fine with leaving you and your family on the side of the road with no help. Strangers actually had to help us, not you, not the company that I'm paying all this money to, and that your best help to me is giving me a voucher to do the whole thing all over again. Are you psychotic? Do you think I may look stupid, but I am not stupid? I'm like, you've got to be out of your mind. You've got, I mean, like, and I go, so you're telling me that if I am you, and I'm telling you that I'm literally saying, I don't care what happened to you and your family. You guys are stranded out in the middle of nowhere. We didn't offer you any assistance. Your car blew up. Your car was acting up again. We did nothing to help you. You were supposed to get a call back. Never happened back on, Wednesday. Supposed to get a call back within that evening or within 24 to 40 hours, which never happened, like I said before. You're saying that if I told you that the best I can come up with is giving you a voucher for a future use of this company, you would take that over your family's safety and you not financially crediting the account to make it right? I'm not asking you to give me back every penny I spent, no, but you need to do something that makes this right. There's something I can do. So I'm like, because I used to work in customer service, so I was like, you know what, Jay? I kept calling him Jay. I was like really condescending to him. I was like a complete dick, and I mean, I didn't care because at this point, like, I don't care anymore. My level of wanting to do and be a decent guy has already left the building days ago, but definitely I don't care anymore. So I was like, I know this call is being recorded, Jay. And when I call back, I'm gonna be sure to mention your name and have that call pulled because first you offered me no help. Because he literally said, I'm not gonna be able to do nothing for you, sir. And he essentially said, I don't care, but he definitely said, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm, basically TTFN, top for now. I'm like, we're going to have that call pulled. I'm going to have your manager listen to it. And then we're going to have this conversation again. I guarantee something gets fixed. Because I was like, first of all, you had denied me another. And I go, I want to talk to your boss. And he goes, I don't have a boss. I'm like, sir, everybody has another boss. Everybody has a boss. We all have another boss. If you don't like what I'm saying, you have somebody above me. And there is always somebody ahead of you. So I'm like, you're denying me to talk to your boss. Because initially he said there's nobody to talk to. And I'm like, so you are where it stops. You have no boss. You are the boss. You are the owner of budget. Well, no, sir. And I want to talk to your boss. Oh, well, I'm like, you're denying me. I'm making sure you hear me on this call. When I have this call pulled later, I'm going to call right back. And I know I'm not going to get you or your department. I will get someone else. I will have this call pulled. I will have them also pull and let them listen that you denied me your boss to talk to, and you also denied me any assistance or help until I kept pushing, and then you offered me a not a credit, but a voucher. Oh, well, no, sir, I didn't. I'm like, yes, you did, Jay. Yes, you did. Jayj, because he spelled it for me, so I kept saying Jayj. Yes, you did. I mean, I was like the biggest douchebag I could be because I was over it. I was trying. I mean, I started out nice as apple pie, but when the guy, I'm at the end of my rope at this point. So, I mean, I'm like, you offer me no help. You are literally worthless. Your word means nothing. You are a piece of garbage, and you're wasting my time. So guess what? Thank you for nothing. I'll be calling back, and we'll have this conversation all again with somebody else. And hopefully you still have your job in the night. So of course, what I do, I hang up, I call right back, I get somebody else on. I get Chris. Now Chris, he's not a supervisor. However, Chris looks at the probably Encyclopedia Britannica of notes that is on my account since last Saturday and sees everything up to the point I called in and talked to this manager. So I'm assuming the manager said if this guy calls back in again, credit his account because he's probably scared and was probably crapping his pants because I know all the little tricks of the trades. I used to do that job. So I used to be a manager for these kind of things. I used to be a trainer for these type of things. So I know all the ins and outs of how to manipulate the system. But not only that, I was doing it because it was the right thing to do, not because I'm trying to like screw somebody out of paying for my car. I'm like, just do the right thing. I'm not asking you to pay for the entire bill. I'm asking you to make this thing right. So I call and talk to Chris, and Chris goes through everything. And lo and behold, somehow magically, I know Chris is actually a supervisor, and he just is pretending, which is what a lot of supervisors do when they take calls or trainers or whatever. They don't tell the public, I'm a trainer, I'm a supervisor. But apparently he was able to wield some power, and guess what? I tell him, he's like, dude, you've been through so much. There was so many notes on here of like how we failed you as a company. You know, I can only do what the right thing is to make this right. Let me see what I can do to help you out. So, I got Chris to give me his reference number, his number, like his ID. I had him confirm everything on what card I used, everything, how I'm gonna be charged, how I'm gonna be credited back the money to make sure that if this doesn't happen, that now Chris is on the list. And he was like, no, I'm writing all the notes. He was reading all the notes back to me from previous people, so I knew he was like on the same page. I think he knew because the previous guy, I said, dude, I'm gonna call back and I'm going to let them know what person you are, and we're gonna have this comment. So those notes are on there because he was apt to jump at right away and offer me a credit. So I was able to have them credit me back over half of what my bill was. So we got the car for basically $50 a day, not even less than $50 a day after all the credits they applied. And I'm like, that's all I'm asking for, but I'm like, I spent more time doing my own personal time since Saturday morning through today, Thursday afternoon, to have you all do the right thing, which should have been the very first call I did. Actually, it should have been, let us send somebody out there to get you and your family right now, and we're going to get you a car to make sure you guys are safe, protected, and well taken care of, and send you on your way. But that never happened. So now I'm still dealing with this 36 hours later, 72 hours later, whatever you want to say. So the moral of the story is that kind of like in the Breakfast Club, you mess with the bull, you get the horns. So that's exactly what happens. But I mean, it is ridiculous that I had to go this long to do this. It should never have been this bad. It should never have been this terrible. And it was a waste of my time, my energy, and my family's time. Like I'm over here we're dealing with this on a Sunday. We're trying to get down to Atlanta. Then we're 5 hours, 6 hours, like already in the hole to get there. Then the rest of the trip we're worried about the car blowing up again on us and steaming and smoking and going through the roof, whatever. So the entire time I can't ever fully enjoy every time I get in the car because I'm afraid today's the day is they'll just take a crap on us. Then I try to call and do the right thing. Nothing happens. They offer zero assistance. And then I'm driving back today and I'm like, fingers crossed, please, Jesus, get us home safely. Thank God that's exactly what happened. So tomorrow morning I drop it off. So that, guys, was my budget car rental fiasco. Like, please, you may not like me, you may not like my channel, but I beseech you, do not use budget car rental, no matter what you do. Pick anybody else. I mean, I would rather you get a rickshaw driver and pay him or her whatever the money is, and have them run you to wherever you're going on a rickshaw, because that would be a better bet, probably safer, and almost more guaranteed to get you from point A to point B than using budget. I'm not even kidding you. I'd rather get shot out of a cannon and roll the dice that I land where I'm supposed to go than ever using budget again. It was a nightmare, and it should never have been that way, because none of this stuff was my fault. It'd be different if I'm trying to make excuses about my own stupidity or my own, inability to, like, drive a car safely, or know anything about basic car information or whatever. Like, that's not what's happening here. Like, it was a complete literal nightmare wrapped in a dumpster fire. I've said already. So please, for the love of God, you work for budget, you should quit and go get a job with a reputable company who actually cares about their customers, and just won't look at them like little dollar signs, and then do not offer them any assistance. And if you ever think about using budget, then don't tell me about it, because I'm going to want to punch you in the throat, because I'm trying to make sure you get away from this and not experience what I experienced. Like, I'm trying to tell you these life lessons. Do not do it. It was like, read my lips. Do not rent from budget. I don't care whatever it is. Do not do it. It is not you. If that happens to you and you rent from them, then whatever happens, you then rightfully so. This happened because you are a dumb head. Whew, man. I don't think I took a break that entire time talking, guys. Oh my gosh. But I wanted to make sure, because I will probably, because I'm an old man, I will probably forget. I wanted to make sure while still fresh in my mind all the rigmarole that I had to go through, my poor family had to go through. I mean, looking at my son's face and his buddy's face at first, like, they're like confused and a little bit nervous and scared. And I don't blame them. I'm trying to put on a brave face, because guess what? I don't know what's the next move's going to be. Like, I'm literally at the mercy of budget, who could give a care less, and then strangers. These strangers happen to be the most amazing people, apparently, in the Shelbyville area of Tennessee. Oh my gosh. So anyways, yeah, influencer in quotes. But anyways, guys, any other, we can talk about something else. We can switch it up. I'm surprised I kept that many people actually even watching. I thought the people would be like, are you talking about your stupid vacation that no one cares about, and your dilemmas and dramas with rental cars? Like, what? I'm out of here. I'd be talking to 0 to 1 people. The fact that I had 12 to 14 in here at any given time was pretty awesome. So, domo arigato gozaimasu. So, do we have any other topics we want to talk about? I did want to actually talk about something I saw a couple of days ago. I watched the video. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched enough to know. I watched all I needed to see, I guess, of it. Mike, baseball collector over on Bench Clear, he did an interview, I believe, with the guy from the national, the social media director. I believe his name was Ray. Over at the National, he had him on the show. I watched I think it was like a 45-minute interview. I watched like 30 minutes of it. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw enough to know that that it sounds like it's a complete cluster too going on over there. There was no answer. Now, first I want to say Mike Baseball Collector he did a fine job. He did an interview. The guy gave him all these canned answers. He gave him a bunch of non-answers. Just a bunch of what ifs and maybes and I don't knows. So this is not a like a smacked in the face or whatever of Mike or Bench Clear. I mean, it has zero to do with them. It has to do with the subject matter of the guy. I recommend. I've used Enterprise most of my life, and I've never had a problem with Enterprise. I used Budget for the first time because I got a good deal through my employer using them, and that was the biggest mistake in my life. So I will go back to Enterprise, pay the extra little money, whatever, and hopefully have the peace of mind that Enterprise will not leave you stranded with your family in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, or wherever you end up. And they would try to do the right thing. But so Mike had this guy on, and the guy, Mike asked him all the pertinent questions, talking about what we can expect, what we'll get from the National. And the guy basically gave him no answers. That was the essential 30 plus minutes I watched, was that I can't give you an answer. The answer is there's not an answer, like no solid answer. So, I mean, guys, at the end of the day, I just want to make sure I want to make sure I say this clearly. Of course, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right. But I think a lot of people are not being honest with themselves, or they're looking through some sort of like rose-tinted glasses of some world that we do not currently live in. So this should all be, with all this being said, this is being said with the assumption or hopeful that it's not going to come to pass, it's not going to come to fruition, and that everything's going to be like hunky-dory and we all can sing Kumbaya and hold hands. But social distance, maybe by the summer we can do 3 feet. Now apparently 3 feet's fine. World we live in, guys. It's the world we live in. But they couldn't give any answers about the biggest telling me was is they would not Mike floated the idea that they require vaccinations or some sort of proof that you don't have COVID or you've been vaccinated. He didn't say yes or no. He made it sound like it was up in the air, and that's a possibility that they would require their attendees to have, I don't know if they can require you to get vaccinated, but require you to have some sort of proof that you don't have COVID. So it's like getting on an airplane. Now, I don't know, but I don't think sporting events is doing that. I maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they're doing that. I just think they're just come as you go, come as you are. They might do like, checking your temperature, but they're not requiring you to have some sort of proof that you don't have. Again, I had to do a COVID test before you got there. But they didn't rule that out, which already tells me a lot that I need to know. Second, they did not. So that was the first thing. Second, that I took away from was that he would not have knocked down nor brush aside. More like maybe it's something we talked about. We don't know if we're going to go that route, but it's being discussed. It's an option that they would actually. It's the highest numbers. First of all, it's the highest amount of sellouts they've ever had, or something like that. He mentioned that multiple times with dealers and with attendees and all that. But he made a mention of that there may be some sort of requirements about how many people can be in the hotel or the convention center, and how many people they'll let in. There might be like a time that you can get in and how long you can be there, how many people can congregate or gather. He said they're discussing, nothing's off the table, if I remember what he said. So there is a chance that you're not actually going to get to go and spend the entire day there, or you might get like, hi, I'm Jason, and they're like, you got the 8 to 10 o'clock, 2 hours. That's when you can go today, and you can come back between 7 and 8. They're not saying that. My understanding is that the national union is kind of come and go as you please, but now they're saying they're not ruling out that there won't be some time slots on when you can go and when you can't go, or how long you can stay in there without having to be ushered out or whatever. I don't know how they would do that. Maybe it's by certain like badges or like wristbands or whatever, but maybe something like that. The other thing is, it has nothing to do with the national. It's Chicago. Chicago does not care about your travel plans. They don't care about how much money you spent on getting there, about your hotel price. They don't care. So if Chicago decides to get a hair up their butt about bringing people into a closed-in building the fire marshal or whoever you want to call could say the capacity can not be more than 2,000 people in this space, or 3,000 or whatever. So the tens of thousands of people who are supposed to be there are just now on the outside looking in. Or they can just say, we don't care about your travel plans. Silly, we're not going to do it. Or this is the way it's going to be. It's going to be this very restrictive policies that you have to follow. If you don't, you get bounced. So, I mean, that sounds like it, Otto. You're probably right. But, that's the scary thing, because Chicago does not care about you and your baseball cards. They do not care. And if you follow the news at all, they talk out of both sides of their mouth on a regular basis. They tell you kids can go back to school 3 feet away, don't need vaccinations. Teachers don't need to be vaccinated, though they can if they want. But you cannot. And so you're in a closed building, a closed school room with 30 plus people in there. But you cannot go to a sports game and have more than like 20% of the people there. If you do, you're breaking CDC guidelines and blah, 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 blah. So you could be in a stadium of 40,000 people could be there, but only 8,000 can show up. But you could be in a classroom or a school filled with people and you're totally fine. So then they're talking about the different strains and there's different like mutations. And they're like, like my precious mother is already, so scared about what's going to happen next. So they're like always trying to evolve the next thing to scare and to manipulate and to change and to, rearrange the approach. So, I mean, again, Chicago does not care if they think or they're being told or they just want to, because they're just like, hey, it's a day that ends in Y. We're going to manipulate people and tell them what to do because we can do that. Then that could happen in the summer, guys. I mean, to me, like I wrote on Mike's thing, again, I told Mike it's not personal to him because it had nothing to do with him. I told him, I'm making zero plans. I'm not spending any money until literally the week of. Then I'll make my decision. I've told this to a few other guys that I was kind of up in the air about things because I honestly don't want to get excited, don't want to make a lot of plans, and then find out it's all been pulled out from me at the last minute, rug from right underneath me. And I mean, listen, I'm not saying this because I get any joy out of it. It's because I don't trust the system. Now, I don't trust the National. I'm sure they're having to do as best they can. But the reality of it is, when you ask people point blank questions like Mike was doing, he was asking very well thought out questions. And the response is, I don't have a response. Or, you duck and weave and you tap dance around the question and you don't give a direct answer. Then that tells me all I need to know is that they are not taking it serious for us as attendees. And they're like, it's an evolving thing. It's a fluid situation. We can't give you any details and facts, but we want your money. We want your commitment to us, but we can't make any commitment to you. So I, by far, will not be playing in that game. I mean, Chicago's like 3 hours from me. I mean, I'm happy to make it there quickly, get up there and enjoy myself if it comes out that, it's going to be like open season, it's back to normal. If it's not, then I'll probably be here because let's be honest, essentially everything that you need, you can get on eBay now. The reason you go to the National is to hang out with people. That's what I've been told. That's what I believe. But I'm not going to the National if I have to be like, I don't know what's the word. Like I'm having to be like, my handheld as I go around because they don't want to take any chances of anything, Like, well, we can't trust people, Yeah, exactly. And you're exactly right. I think it's Robert, if I'm not mistaken, sir. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your name's Robert Prestige. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. That's the only answer. You're exactly right. The only answer he gave was it won't leave Chicago, which I think is ridiculous because Florida, Texas, Mississippi, Montana, a handful of other states are like, we're back open. We're open for business, whatever. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate. I don't want to be rude and not call you like Jake or whatever. Not Jake from State Farm. But anyways, but I mean, like, that's the only answer you gave. Oh, when I leave Chicago, I'm like, they could even make it to Indiana. Indiana's going to be open more than Chicago, more than likely. That's just the next state over. Indianapolis has a huge convention center. Probably not as big as Chicago, but it's better, and they're a lot more flexible with that stuff. I mean, who knows? So I don't know, guys. I mean, like I said, I want to be wrong because I was looking forward to going in there, but I'm not going to go in there to be like told I can't go places, I can't do this, I can't do that. I got to wear this, I got to take this off, I got to put this on. I can only go this time. I only can see these people at this time. I don't want to do all that. Like, this person left, these celebrities, these sports stars left. They didn't show up. They left early. They're closing up. We're closing up shop early. These dealers are leaving because I just don't want to do all that. Like, I don't want to do all that. If it was next to my house, then I wouldn't care. I just roll out of bed, hop in my car, and drive over there, and we'll see how it is. But if it's a journey, you're making a trip to go someplace, you've got to prepare. You've got to spend your money. You've got to make plans. You got to check with your families, your work, your budget, and like a lot of this stuff, you're not gonna get your money back on. And if you do, you got to. It's a hassle of it. Like I just got speaking about getting your money back and getting things right. So when I heard that from Mike, I was like, man, I am not doing squat. Maybe we'll find out later. Maybe things will get better. Maybe it'll be like open season. We're open and ready to rock and roll. That'd be awesome. So then it won't matter. But until then, I don't believe anything is coming out of the National or their mouthpieces until, I guess, the day of the show. Because any of that stuff can change any minute. Yeah, I do too. I just don't. Honestly, I don't think I'm being unreasonable when you say if you're expecting people to make, and then Mike made a very strong allusion of this without being like too on the nose, which I understand you don't want to be like too much of a douche to your guest or whatever. But Mike makes the mention. He's like, you got to plan this out. You got to spend your money. You got to spend time. You're making reservations. You're working on a schedule. You got a lot of stuff you got to do. And if you're coming back and saying you don't have any, hard, facts, any hard dates, any hard information, this is all fluid, it could change, then how can you as a consumer, as an attendee, feel at all confident about the outcome of what you're looking to see happen? The answer is you don't. And some people might have that kind of money to kind of throw around and that kind of time from work that they can just do whatever, like situation with their families, where the families don't really care or know whatever. But that's a whole lot of what ifs to ask people to do. I think people are so hungry to go that they're making all these exceptions and these excuses about what's happening there because they're so hopeful instead of looking at the actual reality that they told Mike. Essentially, we can't tell you anything based in fact and reality. We're only talking in what ifs and maybes at this point. So it's just like, yeah, exactly. This is what we're talking about, dude. So, I don't know, dude. Like I said, I truly want, for everybody's sake, not even, because I don't really care about the National could come or go. I don't care. I was looking forward to going, hopefully, if I was able to make it out there anyways, to hang out with some people. Mike owes me a beer. I was going to count on him. I was there just to get the beer, then I was going to leave. But that's what I'm counting on. But right now there is no reason to have any interest in like trying to make. Anybody who's doing videos talking about the National coming up is just like, and this right now is like peeing in the wind. It's just wishful thinking. They're like, because they don't have any more information than anybody else does. And if they know anything, they should have heard what Mr. Ray would have said. And he said, there is no answers. My answer is there's no answers right now. I don't know what to tell you, but we can't make any solid plans because we don't know what to tell you because we haven't heard from Chicago. We haven't heard from, the celebrity, the sports celebrity. We haven't heard from the CDC. We haven't heard any of this stuff. So it's like, whatever a person tells you is going to happen is a bunch of, malarkey, There's a dog-faced pony soldier. So, I'm not, and like I said, I'm not saying that the National is the one controlling what's happening or the outcome. So don't get me wrong, I understand what you're saying, Robert. I agree, but they also should say, yeah, the reality of it is it's out of our control, out of our hands, and it's not really what they're saying. It's like, well, we want to remain hopeful. We want people to come and spend their money. We want people to keep like saying they're going to be there with the hopes that everything's going to fall into place. And I don't like operating like that with on a pipe dream, on a wish and a prayer, and all this kind of stuff. I want to base in reality, not in what if scenarios, and if everything lines up perfectly and all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. It's like, I don't need that. I want facts. You can't give me facts, then what are we even talking about? You know? But apparently there's so many people in this community, and in not just this community, but this at large, that do not care about actual facts. They just want to live in like a fantasy world of what ifs, that they're like throwing caution in the wind with the hopes that all falls into place. And maybe it will. And that would be awesome for all of our sakes. I know so many people in here and on the interwebs want to meet me in person in real life and get my autograph and get a picture taken with me and buy me baseball cards and slabs. I mean, I know a lot of people want to do that. And I'm more than happy to take those things from those people. Buy me, lots of different, tickets for game, like Cubs games. Buy me my food. I'm more than happy to, give that around. So, but anyways, guys, it's almost 10:30. I've been at this for almost an hour and a half. I'm gonna hop off of here. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you for letting me rant and rage. And we'll definitely try to get together this weekend and do some hanging out. Maybe we'll get some people on. We'll have some fun. So until next time, guys, peace.